Beautiful people, dear friends, us in the hall and in faraway places, in front of their screens, in front of their phones, in front of their tablets. All my brothers and sisters who are watching, I greet you all with the best of greetings. May our day, our yesterday, and our unknown end be blessed. Greetings, a name of Allah. It means peace. Islam, derived from the root silm. Silm means peace. The invitation of the Quran is the invitation of peace. Therefore, adkhalu fassullam kafa. Peace. Go all in. Not piecemeal. All together. Enter together. Don't leave a part of you out of peace. Don't exclude your emotion. Do not exclude your knowledge. Live in peace with the earth. Live in peace with nature. Live in peace with animals and plants. Be at peace with yourself. Establish your inner peace. Let there be no war between your thoughts and feelings. Let there be peace. No war between physics and metaphysics. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be no war between nature. Let there be peace. And build your relationship with your Lord on peace. And build your faith on peace. Establish it. Therefore, enter into peace altogether. If a homeland, a house, if you have a longing for a country and a world, if you have an ideal, the ideal is that the Quran, let it be this ideal. Wallahu yad'u ila dar salam. Allah, to the land of greetings, invites you to the land of peace, not to the land of war. To peace, invitation does. Therefore, our side has always been clear. Our side is the side of good. Our side is the side of the oppressed. Against oppression, no matter who it comes from, no matter who is oppressed. If the oppression is from us, I am not from us, showing the virtue to say, they call a person a Muslim, a Muslim. Therefore, justice on our side is the right. Our side is the law. Our side is good, the partner is good. In the words of the Quran, al-ma'rufu. All of humanity, global common good. And against whom? Al-munkar, against common evil. For him, it is clear. We have defended this from the beginning and will continue to do so from now on. I will defend it. Always will. And Islam is a religion of peace. Despite the fact that its followers have turned it into a religion of war, two groups always stood up to it. One, those who were against religion said, no, Islam is a religion of war. The anti-Islamists said this. They said it persistently. And they also said, those who live off religion for religious power, those who use it as a front, those who use religion as a front for power said the same. The two met in the same eye. Therefore, Islam is a religion of war. But the Messenger of Allah never liked two kinds of names in his life, and he changed only two kinds of names. There was the name Mais, he never changed it. Mais means goat. Uthman means a baby snake. He never changed it. But what did he change?
War.
Whenever he saw the name Harb, he would change it instantly. And the names of idols, Abdul Uzza, the servant of Uzza, Abdul Lat, servant of Lat, Abdul Manat, servant of Manat. In other words, he would change the names of the servants of idols. So he sees the name harp as the same as this, as equal. Yes, he does. After this introduction, dear friends, we are starting a brand new era. Praise and thanks be to my Lord who brought us to this day. In this new period, the marathon that started in '92, it's still going on. For how long? How long will our lives last? How long will our health last? I don't know. What will tomorrow bring? I don't know. But I do know one thing. Right now, if we can be grateful for the blessings we've been given, we'll have an excuse for tomorrow. That's why, thank God, we can afford it right now. What we can afford, we are obliged and responsible. Dear brothers and sisters, today is October 14th, 2023. The Quran's life journey lessons continue to march. Books do not talk. It speaks through people. Books speak through lives. Books speak through those who believe in it and turn it into life. That is how the Quran speaks too. Therefore, reading the Quran is not being a verse automaton. So you will say something and it will come out of the automaton. So and so and so and so verse of so and so surah. This is not the Quran. Reading the Quran is living the principles of the Quran in your life. Standing for justice against oppression. Standing on the side of right against injustice. Standing for the oppressed against the oppressor. Yes, it is. Quran, this is what it is. To be on the side of knowledge against ignorance is to be on the side of knowledge against bigotry. As you can see, reading the Quran, that's it. If that doesn't work, to be a verse automaton. Flash drives do it much better. Your cell phones read very well. Believe it. Never gets tired, never makes a mistake. Therefore, this is what reading is. Yes, what do we want to do? Guys, I didn't see it reflected. Yes. What do we want to do? What do we not want to do? What do we really want to do? What do you think we want to do? Yes, we want to do something. Anyway, people who do something always have a purpose, an expectation from it, right? We are also doing this with an expectation. That expectation is never a material benefit. Because from 92 years until today, 16 years of tafsir classes, 5 years of Asma al-Husna classes, 5 years of Siratul Quran classes, a penny. I didn't get it. Not from any of them, not from conferences or television programs. Well, we don't have a material interest, but do we have an interest in power, in political power? On the contrary, these lessons are about taking risks. Why? These courses prioritize criticism, so it eliminates it, sweeping it away. He doesn't welcome whatever trash comes. Tradition is blessed. Tradition is blessed, even if it contains trash, garbage, or filth. These lessons do not say that whatever comes from the ancestors is welcome. No, they sift. They take the good, Take the one, throw out what's no good. That is the principle. Therefore, These lessons are eliminating. And this geography does not like criticism. It doesn't like it. It doesn't like elimination. Sifting is laborious. Sifting is a laborious job. If you love the child, he says, you'll love the dirty diaper. If you love the baby, you'll love the dirty diaper. He says a dirty diaper is also blessed. Save that too. Or if you don't like them, where you throw the diaper, you throw the baby. And we say no. We love the baby, but your dirty diaper, we don't save it. We throw it away. Because it must be thrown away. That's where it belongs. We love rice, but we don't like the stone. We love the apple, but we don't like the worm. Just because I love apples, I don't have to eat the worm. Just because I like rice, I don't have to eat the stones in it. That's why we sift it. We sift it for that. That's why we choose. We must choose, because choosing is the right of the will. It is the right of the will on us. Those who choose do justice to their will. The one who does not choose is eating the right of the will. So what is it? What do we want to do? Sir, we want to fulfill our responsibility. We want to have an excuse. We want to have an excuse. There is a responsibility. We say that believing in the truth has a responsibility. We say that if we do not fulfill this responsibility, we will be under the shame. We cannot answer to our conscience first and foremost. We say we will be ashamed. Then we will be ashamed of the blessings given to us. Then we will be ashamed of the creator of those blessings. Then to the people, you knew. Why didn't you tell us? You learned it. Why didn't you teach us? You saw it. Why didn't you show us? In order not to be ashamed of people who will say, we're here. What don't we want to do? Sir, we don't want to acquire a herd. We don't want... Thank God I didn't say I should have a version. I take that as an insult to you. I take it as an insult to myself. I mean, that's not what one says. What does one say? I want to have an audience too. I want people to fill my matchstick, my matchbox. I want people to get on my minibus too. I mean, he says it with pompous things. No. I never thought of such a thing. Alhamdulillah. And I thank my Lord for that. What did I think? I thought, come to your senses. Can I say that? I mean, don't come to anyone, don't come to us, don't come to me. There is no such thing. I cannot take you to heaven in a matchbox. I cannot put you in my robe and shake you into heaven. I can't take you to heaven in my minibus. So where should we go? You and I should come to our senses. Why should we? Because the call of the Quran is not really a call to somewhere. It is a call to itself. The 30th verse of Surah Rum is a clear picture of this call. In other words, the verse of Fitrat. Fatrat Allahi allati fatara an-nas alayha, the nature on which He created mankind. So that thing, that essence, that seed that you bring from creation, water it, make it grow. You will be growing paradise, you will be watering paradise. Remember, you are making your heaven with your hands. Remember, you light your fire with your hands. So this was a call to come to yourself, not a call to come to us. This call is also a call to defeat ignorance together. Was his call. This call was also for future generations, your grandchildren. Beyond wealth, power, power, ideology, slogans. Let us bequeath knowledge. Let us bequeath virtue. Let us bequeath morality. Let us bequeath justice. Let us bequeath respect for right and law. Let us bequeath beauty and goodness. It was a call to leave a legacy of truth and honesty. And from now on, it always is. What can we expect? What can we expect? لا نريد منكم جزا ولا شكرا. It's a great verse. We ask you, we don't expect anything in return, nor do we expect a thank you. If you say thank you, that's up to you. That would be your beauty. But if you don't, that's up to you. So what do we expect? What will you be? To wake us up, who resurrects us, that gives us hope, that excites us, that shines a light in us, that enlightens us, that we illuminate those dark places. May this beautiful message light a light in you, in those who listen to it, in those who receive it. Let there be hope in them too. We want there to be hope in their future too. Are we asking for too much? Do we want something bad? This is what we want. Be better, let's be better. We want the good to win. We don't want the bad to win. We want goodness to shake the world, not evil. We want goodness to multiply. If goodness increases, evil decreases. We want knowledge to multiply, not ignorance. We want knowledge to multiply. We have nowhere to go with ignorance and lack of science. Therefore, we want justice to increase. We want oppression to decrease, not increase. Therefore, this is our expectation, friends. Yes, of course there is a before. There is no need to explain what came before for too long. It started in 1 October in the year 92. And then came the Tafsir class, the Asma-i Nusna class, and the life journey of the Quran class. Trying to understand the Quran? The answer to our why, if you say why the Quran's life journey lessons, why are we trying to understand the Quran? Why indeed? Are we doing Quranism here? Hasha. I consider this an insult to the Quran. First of all, the suffix chuchu is a vendor supplement. The bagel seller sells bagels. The coal seller sells coal. The bread seller sells bread. The woodcutter sells firewood. Isn't that right? Yes. Therefore, the one who sells the Quran is without the Quran, without the book. I say this with inspiration from Kindi. Kindi was about 2,200 years before me. Yes, 4,400 years ago, right? 2,200 years ago. He said that he was very tired of the religionists of that day, the immoral religionists. They existed in that day. They never diminished. They never ended. They made him sick to death. This is an alama. Imagine. He has 10,012 books, only 250 works. Most of them were, of course, genocided. So the books of his opponents cannot pass the Inquisition of Muslims. Therefore, are 11 of them good at psychology? Such a man was vindictive. He was declared a heretic because he attributed the tides of the seas, the tides to the moon. It's been done. Oh, declaring a kafir in those days was not like declaring a kafir today. Because when you declare a kafir, the jurisprudence of the kafir, the jurisprudence of the apostate comes to the fore. What is the jurisprudence of the apostate? In their religion, he is killed. Is that all? All his property is confiscated. His property is booty. Is that all? No, it's not. His rape will also be confiscated. If he lives, he is not greeted or saluted while he is alive. He will not be buried in a Muslim graveyard. If he is buried, he is dug up, thrown away, and treated as carrion. If he is sick, he is not visited. Girls are not given, girls are not taken. Do you see how they turn a person into a civilized funeral? Imagine this being practiced. Imam Abu Hanifa practiced this. This codex was applied. This is the apostate codex. It doesn't just sit in a bottle. It doesn't just sit in a book. He wrote the Lalika. He sat down and wrote it without being ashamed. The codex. So here you go. Imagine living in such a world. How would you tell the truth? How many kilos, how many Batmans of heart would you have to have? Is it easy? Is it easy? For him it is harder than drinking hemlock poison. Yes, it is. To understand why the Quran. We're not doing Quranism. We won't. Hasha, Allah. Bless you. You know how they say if he wrote it, it'll be this morning? It won't. So what do we do? Actually, it's a personal story. What is it? It's the Quran's. I know how he solved my crises. I lived it. Otherwise, he would have cut me off from God long ago. Listen, he's already cut me off from Islam. Would have happened. Therefore, if others have these crises, he should solve theirs too. One. Secondly, the Quran is not a holy book. The Bible is a holy book. It is already called the Holy Bible. Torah is a holy book. Quran is not a holy book. Do you know what is holy? It is the untouchable. That which is unreachable. And there is only one holy in the religion of the Quran, and that is Allah. Almighty Allah is the Holy One. You cannot pinch him, you cannot touch him, you cannot touch him. You know what I mean? You can't touch like this. You cannot separate them to their faces. You cannot separate Allah time by time, verse by verse. So what do? You touch the Quran. You should even touch it. Don't touch it necessarily. You should touch it in any case. You know, you can't touch it in this state, in that state. There is no state in which the Quran cannot be touched unless you sell your mind to the devil. That's what yuzu is. That is yuzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. That is it. When you start reading the Quran, seek refuge in Allah. Seek refuge. That's it. That's it. That is it. So it is not a holy book. What book is it? It is a book of life. The book of life. That's why we call it the Quran. We actually call it life. When we say Quran, we mean life. Life. Therefore, I don't see it as a book. It is a handbook of life principles. A handbook of life principles that you find in front of you ready to use. The principles of life that have been accumulated throughout human history. You know what I mean? A handbook of life principles. You will know where to look, of course, because not every verse in the Quran is a principal verse. It brings the verse, kill them wherever you find them. Our atheist human brother. This is the one who drove the believers of that day out of their homeland. It came down for the guilty, murderous polytheists of that day who killed on sight and destroyed their property. In other words, what kind of Slander? What kind of approach is that? If you see this, see the 8 texts of Surat al-Muttahane. Allah does not forbid you to develop good relations with polytheists unless they drive you out of our homeland, unless they fight a religious war with you. Why don't you see this? You don't see it, you don't know. If you know, you are committing treason and so on. There is nothing like that, as you can see. We already have an answer to everything. We do. That's why it's so interesting. Ignorance is at a premium. And then there's those who burn the forest behind us by putting the part in front of our eyes, not the whole, that is, by putting the branch in front of our eyes. They're ruining it. They're ruining it, yes, because it's a book of life, a book of principles. And what is it? It's also, especially at a time like this. Don't you see? It is a time of unprincipledness. It's a time of unprincipledness. There is a hurricane. There's a tsunami. You need a branch to hold on to in this hurricane. When you don't hold on, this hurricane takes you away. Beyond you. So there are facts, there are truths, It is not necessary to believe for morality in the world, friends, because there are very moral people in the world who do not believe at all. Accept this now. Don't deceive yourselves. And there are immoral people who believe a lot. There is that too. There is that too. Know it, understand it. So what's the problem here? What's the contribution of faith? Faith actually turns the good that you know intellectually into a faith that is firmly established and solidified in you at the same time. It turns it into an element of trust. It is not enough to know the good, you also need to have confidence in it. What you put in the file of knowledge, you also need to take it and put it in the file of conscience. So then it becomes a fixed destiny for you, goodness. Goodness becomes your destiny. So it becomes your angel. It becomes your angel. What more? I should say, you get in the habit. You have a culture of kindness. You have the capacity for goodness. And it emerges from you instinctively, reflexively. So you are no longer designing goodness. You start acting good. You cannot behave badly. You cannot oppress. You can't do injustice, etc. Yes, for him, to pay our debt of loyalty to the Quran. Do we have a debt of loyalty? Yes, we do. We say we believe. Shouldn't we owe a debt of loyalty to the book we believe in? Otherwise, let's not believe. If there is no equivalent of faith in life, it is a mere triviality. I'll repeat it again. Any article of faith that you say you believe in, the first one, if there is no equivalent in life, you are actually lying. That is it. Because if religion doesn't work here, it won't work at all on the other side. That's how it is. Yes, not to leave him orphaned. Indeed, that the Quran is orphaned and orphaned. I see it. Don't you see it? Everyone's book has a customer. It has an owner, sir. So all those who say it was dictated to me have a crowd around them. The Quran is sad. The Quran is strange. Not to leave it at the mercy of its enemies. Of course, we should not leave the Quran at the mercy of its enemies. There are enemies of the Quran. There always will be. Yes, there will always be enemies of the Quran. We regret it, but it is so. But we should not leave it to the abuse of the so-called believers, right? We need to protect it from them. That's why we need to protect the Quran from Muslims. Because the greatest evil to the Quran is done by some of the people who come out of the people who say they believe in it. Think about it. What does it mean to treat it like Viagra, a lust pill? What does it mean to treat it as an object of magic? What does it mean to play jinn with it? What does it mean to make it suitable for commerce, trade, sale, and sell recited mourning? So count it, count it, count it. Therefore, the Quran is also open to abuse by those who say they believe in it. Not to quit. I appeared before you 2 months late last semester. So it was a short semester for him too. My back. I came before you wearing a steel corset. For a while the lectures continued with a steel corset. I had a narrow canal operation. Alhamdulillah. I'm fine, I'm fine. I am able to appear before you now, but I still have aches and pains after a certain hour. I hope I won't experience anything like that here. If I do, it will show on my face. I will hear from my back, and I'll say, "Thank you, my back." I'll say, "Thank you for your life," and I'll ask your permission in such a case. I'll ask permission from your presence. 12 lessons, logbook, today's lesson. This summary, a reminder. Is it necessary? Very necessary. Why is that? We forget. We forget. Ibn Abbas derives the word human from the word nishan. Very interesting. That is forgetting. Man is a forgetful being. So we all forget. I will even say this. We should thank God for creating forgetting. If we didn't forget, the lessons would be like the first moment. If we experienced troubles, pains, sorrows, griefs, deaths like the first moment, we would not be able to endure. We would not be able to survive. Therefore, forgetting is a blessing in one way. On the other hand, okay. Of course, forgetting is a loss. It is a loss. So what do? We constantly remind. We will constantly remind. What was the number one duty of the prophets? To remind. فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ. Remind. You are a reminder. لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرْ. You are a tyrant over them. You are not. You are not a policeman, a gendarme. You are not a force enforcer. Just remind, just forget. That's it. Therefore, it is necessary to remember. Therefore, let me remind you of our lessons last semester. I started with the universal greeting. I already said in the introduction that Silm, Salam, Islam, Muslim all come from the root of peace. The tribal deity is not our Allah. The 46th lesson, of course. Surah Naz is a lesson on self-knowledge. That was the first lesson last semester. Surah Naz, a lesson in self-knowledge. Yes, it is. Look, the titles of my lectures always talk about the principles of the Quran. Self-knowledge is a Quranic principle, you know, and the principle of self-knowledge is not a principle that started with the Quran. The Quran is a codex of the immutable values of humanity. It is a collection of principles. So this is also a principle. And remember, on the pediment of the ancient Egyptian temples, above the entrance door, this was written, "Know yourself." This was also written on the pediment of ancient Greek temples. Know yourself. Here you see a truth that is as old as humanity. Know yourself. Why know yourself? What good is it to know everything else if you don't know yourself? If you don't know yourself, so what if you know them all? You don't know yourself, for it's a lot of labor, Yunus used to say. Yes, it is. Knowledge is knowing yourself. So know yourself. Yes, I do. The tribal God is not our Allah. Again, I said the Lord of the worlds. Here too, yes. So the Lord of mankind. Lord of the worlds. Rabbi, what about our belief in God? The tribes, Allah. He believes in the Allah of the Muslims. Our most horizon, huh? What is it? Allah is the Allah of Muslims? You're laughing, and you're doing great. I think you should laugh. But you should laugh like you're crying. What is this state? What the hell is this? Is it? It's not the Lord of the worlds, not the Lord of the Muslims. This was already the belief of the Jews in God. Why? Yah. It is the deity of the Jews. It is not the God of others. They say we are the sons and friends of Allah. They were and still are. Jews consider the Jew to be the offspring of Allah. The rest they call Goyim, Goyim in Hebrew. The Western word for this is Gentile. Barbarian. Barbarian in Latin. The Romans called a Gentile a barbarian. That's Goyim. That's Goyim. Uncivilized, savage. Not human, half human, nim human. So we are not equal, inferior, inferior. Do you see the point of view? When you go to such an ontological fragmentation, if you see a community as inferior by creation, you feel justified to do all kinds of oppression to them. You have to see them as equal to yourself. There is no privileged person by creation. There is no one privileged by birth. This is a slander against Allah. This is a slander against creation. This is a slander against nature. There is no such thing. Then you boast of what you did not choose. Then all racism is legitimate. All tribalism is legitimate. All tribalism is legitimate. All asabiyas are legitimate. Then Hitler got it right. I'm a murderer. Is there a conscience that can say that about a murderer for a monster like Hitler? Of course there is. There is no conscience there either. There are many. We see it. It's out there. I know it from famous names. Don't let me spoil your fun here. Don't idolize Allah. Message. The apparatus of the Lord of the worlds. A deviation. How can Allah become an apparatus? Hasha. How can He become an idol? How does Allah become an idol? Many Muslims believe in Allah as an idol. Yes, it is very interesting. Very interesting. This is the place to sound the alarm. This is the place to sound the red alert. He says he believes in Allah, but in fact he has idolized Allah. And what was the polytheist's relationship with the idol? Papa ate when he was hungry. That's exactly what he does. He worships Allah, but when he gets hungry, he eats Allah. Because Allah is not enough to be eaten. God is the object, not God is the subject. For example, he says, see some things. He likes to see so-and-so, oh Lord, so-and-so did this to me. So-and-so did this to us. But he also likes to see some things. Be blind, oh Lord. Don't see this, oh Lord. Go over this, oh Lord. Jump, oh Lord. Isn't that so? Mindless. Yes. And I warned you, don't give a premium to those who poison your life with false sensitivities. Is it possible to poison religion? It is not. This is exactly the situation today. Religion has been poisoned. Why? Why? Let me say again what I always say. The best is the worst when it spoils. When cucumbers stink, you don't even know. When meat stinks, the neighborhood stinks. Why is that? Meat is a protein store. Cucumbers are water. As you can see, if it's full, if it's good, if it stinks, it's the worst, the most harmful. It turns into a toxic substance, isn't it? Therefore, when religion stinks, it becomes the worst. It poisons. That's why I said that the more religious the ignorant becomes, the more he deviates. Do you remember? The more religious the ignorant, the more deviation. You don't increase the piety of the ignorant. First, you remove his ignorance. Do not give religion to the ignorant without removing his ignorance. Religion acts as a toxic substance in him. It poisons him. And he poisons others. Forty-seventh lesson, Surah Ikhlas. O man, conquer your arrogance. If I asked what Surah Ikhlas is about, my brothers and sisters who know would say, it is about Allah. Surah Ikhlas is about men. Yes, it is. The human being. Because the Quran, it didn't come down to Allah, to man. Yes, it did, to heal man. Is it God who suffers the greatest harm from shirk? Is it man? In fact, is Allah ever harmed by shirk? Therefore, yes, the subject of this surah is not Allah but man. It will examine Allah and what is your tokamak. Do you know what a tokamak is? Today the Large Hadron Collider in CERN is a tokamak. There are many countries. There is one in America. There is one in Canada. Japan has it. China has it. I mean, subatomic particle colliders are called tokamaks. So you have no tokamak, no microscope, no telescope. So you cannot put God under the microscope. Telescope, let's do something like this. Let's hold a telescope and let's see if I can tell you the most advanced today. There are space telescopes, so they have many mirrors. No, no, no. You can't do that to Allah. That's why Allah is the only Holy One, El-Qudus. When you bring an additional holy other than Allah, you are giving bread to the clergy, Okay? You will put a bullet in your head. You will put a bullet in your faith. Do not create a holy other than Allah. So I invite you to read the article Al-Qudus again from the book of Esma-i Husna. How is it? In history, the holy was reduced and reduced in the revelations, in the Quranic revelation, to God alone. There is a wonderful analysis of this. Allah is the subject of the realm of the unseen in metaphysics, not the realm of the physical. Is it not? It is not the subject of physics. It is the realm of Shahada. I said that the Quranic epistemology, the system of knowledge, the philosophy of knowledge stands on two legs. According to what? According to the 22nd verse of Surah Al-Hashr. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو علم الغيب والشهادة. Gaib and Shahada. Gaib are truths that are beyond comprehension. Shahada are truths that are the subject of knowledge. In other words, the British express one with true and the other with reality. He can explain it. Therefore, the unseen are truths that transcend comprehension. It is beyond human comprehension. But martyrdom is the subject of knowledge, the subject of science. We reach Shahada through knowledge. Through faith, we reach the unseen. Therefore, again, I put before you the difference between Ahad and Wahid, so that you do not worship the number, do not worship the many. What is Ahad? I mean one and only one. I would say one and only, but the diminutive comes. I think that might not be very decent either. I mean, one God. Wahid is numerical, but Ahad is only for Allah. What is it in this sense? Allah is one, the only one. We worship many. We count them. Which one has more population? Which one has more congregations? Which sect has more followers? I mean, which wealth is more? We worship the many. Here's a word for those who worship a lot. If you worship a lot, why do you believe in God? Allah is one. Therefore, if the truth were many, Allah would not be one. That is why, precious one, what is a valuable one? If you put a zero behind it, it also has value. You know what I mean? Even if you are a zero, if you stand in the right place, it gives you value too. The 48th lesson was the second lesson on Surat Al-Ikhlas. I told you not to multiply religion and narrow life. I told you not to get kosher certificates for water. Jews do that, don't they? He gives a halal certificate to watermelon, and for this he charges a few thousand liras for this certificate, right? Did you see it? I saw it. Whiskey with a halal stamp. I saw it. Yes, I saw the halal pig. Very interesting. When it comes to certification, this is where it gets disgraceful. For him, give up kosherism. Islam is not such a religion. Allah's prohibitions are numbered, the rest are free. Evidence is required for haram, but not for halal. No proof is required for something to be halal. That is the principle, that is the rule. The fact that it was created itself is proof of its lawfulness. If it is not haram, it is halal. Therefore, in this sense, you don't do it, you don't eat it. I don't eat shellfish. I don't eat mussels. I don't eat oysters. I don't eat lobster. Don't eat, sir. Don't eat them. You don't either. But don't say it's forbidden. Do you understand? You don't have that right. There is only one authority that can stamp something haram, and that's clear. Yes, would you read the introduction of Surah Tahrim again? Our Lord forbids this to the Prophet. He forbids it to the Prophet. How can you forbid it to yourself, and it is forbidden to yourself, not to the believers? He forbids even that. Thank you. Yes, what should you take? Get a health certificate. For the water. Don't get a halal certificate. Get a health certificate, because it is important whether the water is healthy or not. And that is not decided by your clergy. Your rabbi doesn't decide. Your imam does not decide. Your pastor doesn't decide. The expert decides. The scientist decides. Leave it to him. Man is himself, including Zamzam. Yes. A man must recognize, he must recognize. He must not define God. Yes, he should. Whoever tries to define Allah is encompassing Allah. It means it encompasses. Do we have the knowledge to encompass Allah? I said this is knowing religion. The 49th lesson is Surah Najm. I said if you are looking for an idol to break, look inside. Yes. I see an axe in the hands of many of them. And Ibrahim is written on their backs. But I look, itself an idol. His head is full of idols, Putain. His heart is full of idols, a pagan idol. For example, I say, so-and-so imam is wrong in this opinion. He is not right. He chirps, one up and one down, and he walks all over him. It turns out that so-and-so imam has ceased to be a human being and has become an idol in the pantheon inside our brain. I say so-and-so scholar is not right about this and that. He is not accurate. He says Ghazali is wrong. Wow, is that you? You look inside. He's installed a huge idol in his idolatry. He walks around with an axe. Break your own idols first. I asked you a question. To whom is the Quran dedicated? Do you remember? Class, yes it is. To whom is it dedicated? Not to the good, not to the Muslims, not to the believers, not to the people of the Middle East, not to the Arabs, not to this tribe and that tribe, not to those who say La ilaha illallah, not to those who read the Quran, not to those who believe in the Quran. To whom? لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, to a thinking people. How did you find it? He dedicated it to himself. He says it is for a thinking people. Yes, a thinking society. So is the Muslim song a thinking society? I'll leave it to the word. I don't want an answer. Thank you. Goodbye. Ilhan Abi says it's like a turkey. Yes, we need to put it on the market. If he's talking, he's thinking, right? You remember the joke. Thank you. I drew attention to the age of enlightenment opened by the Quran. Do you know that the Quran opened an age of enlightenment? Surah Nur was actually dedicated to this enlightenment, the 35th verse. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. What was this? A call for enlightenment. Why was this great call of our enlightenment covered with the veil of disbelief? Look, the enlightenment of the West, 17th century. Well, Muslims, what was his response to the call for enlightenment in the 17th century, not the 17th century? It turned its back. Yes, except for a minority who said yes to this call, they turned their backs. It is betrayal. For him, our enlightenment did not materialize. It stayed inside us. We smothered the light. Everywhere we saw light, in Semel Melik's words, we took a bucket of water and ran because there was a fire. We tried to put it out. We became enemies, adversaries, or rather we were made enemies to the people who were the light in us. And in order to destroy those people, we slaughtered the Seli, we drew swords. Therefore, we did not leave the enlightened ones among us. We have a hostility towards them. We have enmity. Because there are those among us who feed on darkness. Because there are those among us who love darkness. Because there are those who do dark deeds among us. They are, when it lights up, they won't be able to put a herd on their backs. They never liked transparency. They hated transparency. That's why the Quran's call for enlightenment was orphaned. God willing, at least it will come. At least there will be a mass responding to this call. Isn't that what the Quran says? Isn't that what the Quran says? Didn't he say that there should be a community that calls to the truth, calls to good, recommends what is right and forbids what is wrong? This is it. Breeder. Under the astonished looks of some people, I said I would like to hear Kant's interpretation of Najm and the 35th verse of Surat al-Nur. I said I would like to hear Marx's interpretation of Surat al-Hashr 7 and Surat al-Anfal. What does Surat al-Hashr 7 say? Let not wealth become a state in the hands of some of you. I would like to hear this from Marx. I would like to hear Kant's interpretation of Surah Najm and Surah Nur, Freud's interpretation of Falak and Nas. I said many others. Yes, I would. I would really like to listen to them. But we have not represented that book correctly so that we can inform those people. We didn't notice the verses that we expected those people to comment on. What should we tell them? I asked if idols were a thing of the past, and I added that not every statue is an idol. Not a statue. To those who think a statue is an idol, I feel like opening Surah Nam and having it read. I want to read some verses in the Quran. Yes, there are two places in the Quran. In two places in the Quran, in Solomon's pavilion, the word temasil is mentioned. Temasil means statues. Thank you. People are still lying on their ears as if no one knows about it. How did you ban plastic arts in the name of Islam? Then you brought two-legged idols, built pagodas and worshipped them. You called them sheikhs and worshipped them. You called them leaders, you worshipped them. You called them imams, you worshipped them. You called them Hojjah, you worshipped them. You called him Caliph, you worshipped him. You worshipped and worshipped. You called him Gavs, you worshipped him. You worshipped him, you worshipped him. Mevlana, you worshipped him. Yes, you did. You see, I told you that if you are looking for idols, look at our religious culture. 50th lesson. Naim Day. That was the day my morale was tested by technical glitches. You saw me too. I'm not such a lamb, am I? Sir, I'm not, sir. Should I be a lamb? I'm not sure about that either. So I'm not sure. I am finding my own proofs at work. Umar bin Khattab, the second caliph, said so. He said that a man who does not get angry is no different from a donkey. Of course, it should be understood that he does not get angry at injustice. Otherwise, I don't think he was the type of person who was always ordering left and right with a sullen face. I started by saying, look at your hands, referring to the hand attributed to Allah. Would you look at your hands? I even suggested a 1-minute contemplation of the hand. I said, look at your hand. What a marvelous thing you are looking at. Have you ever noticed it? Have you ever looked at your hand? Is it possible not to admire the hand? Imagine not having a hand. Imagine. Why is all human action attributed to the hand? Even Allah's action is attributed to the hand. Allah's hand is above their hand. What kind of hand is Allah's hand? It is a metaphor, of course. It certainly is. It has to be. It's the logic of language. But here, your hand, it's not actually the muscles, the veins, the physiognomy. It's actually the work that the hand performs. Do you realize that? Your hands are your deeds. Your hands are your action. Your hands are what you do. Your hands are you. Your hands are you. You are your hands. For him, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, it comes together in 50-odd places. Those who trust in Allah, and those who do good deeds. Those who do good deeds. Doing good deeds, doing deeds. Now he's gone to Mount Kaf like the phoenix, right? Everyone's talking. Everyone with a finger talks. Those with keyboards talk. He doesn't want a keyboard anymore. It's touch screen. Those with fingers talk. But it doesn't work. He writes on social media, he writes on Facebook, he writes on Instagram, he writes on Twitter. My time is such a disgrace, it's such a disgrace. Oh God, They're teenagers. He doesn't know anything yet. He hasn't revealed anything. You can't even do evil, let alone good. Can you imagine? I'm telling a Quranic truth there. I'm going downstairs. May Palestine introducing you. So I turned it off. 240,000 followers. I turned off my Twitter. This kid, a child or childlike person. Think about it. If he had looked at the action, he wouldn't have committed this outrage. Wouldn't he? In the year 2009, together with Mr. Sadiq and other friends, during that famous bombardment, 2 o'clock at night, Mr. Sadiq, if I remember correctly, fix it. Bombs were raining down on us. They were raining down on us, and we're unloading a medicine truck. Medicine. Truck, you know what I mean? Sir. 30-odd ambulances with cars. We left. He's with us. And since that day, tens of thousands without exception, I'm not exaggerating, maybe it has reached hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, we touched and touched the gas with the Sister Family Project. We paid the monthly minimum expenditure through the Sister Family Project. They lived with him. They lived with the one who came. But he can curse from where he sits. You know what I mean? That's why I don't talk anymore. I decided not to speak. Because when those who should shut up speak, even if those who should speak speak, they are not listened to. The word has no value. The word has fallen into disgrace. The word has rotted. What should we do? That's why I say let's go back to the principles, because whoever enters this mud will wallow in it. Whoever gets in won't get out. Yes, I will. And appreciate your hand. Give your hand its due. Nobody's hand can do everything, can't they? I mean, look at your hand. Appreciate your hand. But know this, no one can do everything. Know that too. I told you that no one can hit everything he throws. I have an article like that. Yes, I did. So know the value of your hand, but also know the limit of your hand. You can't do everything. I said the interview is the triangulation point. The unprincipled are those who carry their interviews in the trunk. What is an interview? It is the triangulation points where the measurements of the disputed lands, the lands that have been in court, are kept from the measurements themselves, while the cadastre of all lands is being made. It used to be, now they do it by satellite. Therefore, the reportage does not move. There are statutes and regulations regarding them. Anyone who removes it is punished. But nowadays, the interview is traveling in the trunk of the car. Why is that? I mean, do you have a meter? Do you have a meter? Do you have a scale that weighs correctly? Do you have an interview? You say, let's take a measure from him. Where is it? He says it's in the trunk of your car. Wherever you put it, like Nasreddin Hafiz did. Where do they say the center of the world is? Where your donkey puts its foot. No way, Hoja, he doesn't want that. You tell him, he says, count. Measure. If you don't believe me. So this is how he looks at it. In fact, Nasreddin Hoja is imitating this type with this joke. He gives this type away. So you put it in the trunk of your car. So you're actually selling it. Everything you sell as a meter is a lie. Everything you sell as a kilo is a lie. Because your kilo is worn out, your meter is missing. That's why you're not honest. I mean, to measure with unworn meters, unworn kilos. So what do you have to do? In the past, the municipal accounts departments used to have, there were kilos. In front of those kilos, they would bring the grocery store kilos, those metal kilos. I mean, they were usually made of copper, right? Brass, something like that. There would be a hole on one side of them. They would print yellow. So it's missing. 20 grams missing, 30 grams missing, 10 grams missing. That's how much they would print. And they would calibrate, adjust. Your scale is out of calibration, brother. What if you think? What if you don't think? Will it be? Don't think, please. Get it calibrated, not like that. And where do we calibrate? These lessons are those lessons. Yes, the verse that no one bears anyone's burden, the verse that no one can, the religion of the briber, the torpedo man, the interviewer. What shall we say? You put them through an exam. They took the exam, they passed. Why do you make them take an interview? Huh. You're actually going to use torpedoes there, aren't you? And you're going to bring the issue of whether he's one of us or not. I mean, it's not about right and law, is it? Don't eat rights. The value of labor and knowing the nature of things, I covered in that lesson. 51st lesson, Surah Abasa, a lesson on conscience and humanity. Again, we come to humanity, see? The first quality you should look for in the person you can discuss anything with should be conscience and humanity, friends. For example, you are going to discuss something, right? Please, life has taught me this. The first quality you should look for in someone you are going to discuss something with is conscience and mercy. If he doesn't have conscience and mercy, don't discuss anything with him. Don't discuss. It's useless because he has no conscience, because he has no mercy. I just told you, the scale is out of order. No calibration. His plumb line has slipped. Therefore, if he is not without conscience and mercy, you cannot discuss anything with him. Our claim of compassion is against the disadvantaged, marginalized, dispossessed, and powerless. Yes, it is. Isn't it? It is measured by our attitude. Compassion is our claim. We say we are compassionate. That's a claim. How do you prove it? Are you compassionate towards disadvantaged classes? Are you compassionate towards marginalized classes? Are you compassionate towards the dispossessed and the powerless? Yes, to the powerful. You are already compassionate because compassion pays off. You take it instantly, you put in one, you take three. Against the powerless, the weak, the underdog. Do you have compassion for the marginalized, for the few? You tell me that. Yes, I am. Oh, you who boast of things you had nothing to do with, have you ever looked in the mirror? Yes, I have. What does that mean? Friends, did we ask to be born in this geography? No, we didn't. Did we ask to be born to this mother and father? No. Did we want to be born from this beach? No. Did we ask to be born male or female? No. Neither place nor boast about what you did not ask to be born and did not determine. I'm very sorry, I'm going to be rude. This is foolishness and stupidity. Because you didn't ask for it. You did not determine what kind of beach you will be. But you determine what kind of person you will be. Is he merciful or ruthless? Cruel or oppressed? Righteous or unrighteous? Righteous, honest, or crooked and crooked? You determine what kind of person you will be. So it is your decision. It will be your choice, and you can learn with it. Yes, you can learn. You can take pride in it. But don't be proud of what you have not chosen. Lesson 52, earthquake special. I said great helplessness, didn't I? Yes, I also said great helplessness. I asked in class whether a seismic earthquake is more destructive or a moral earthquake. Because what we experienced and saw after the earthquake showed that the moral earthquake was much worse than the seismic earthquake. Actually, the earthquake didn't kill us, but immorality did. Whose immorality? Yes, it was. The immorality of contractors, stealing from the material, the master's depravity, the immorality of politicians, the corruption of the municipal authorities, the immorality of those who do the auditing, and the immorality of the people who, in order to build houses cheaply, even went to the line and pestered the politicians and made a fuss for a zoning amnesty. Shall we forget that? Shall we forget it? Here, which earthquake is bigger? Which earthquake is more destructive? I asked, the faith of the person or the faith of one's work? The faith of the person or the faith of one's work? When I think of faith, I think of the faith of one's work. Otherwise, it's abstract. I believe in this. How do we know, sir? How do we know what you believe? What is the proof, for example? This is a claim. Anyone can claim anything. But what is the proof of a claim? Your work. It is not the faith of the person, but the faith of the work that Allah looks at. Don't you think you can see it? Didn't I say that the theology of those who don't know geology is nonsense? Yes, I did. He who does not know geology, theology is nonsense. How absurd. You don't even know how the earth behaves. You don't know the laws of seismic movement. You don't know the laws of seismicity. But you're sitting there. So he came because of our sins. God damn you. Repent, repent. May God do it anyway. There's no earthquake in Las Vegas. It's the center of sin. Oh my God. Okay, but how do we get this? Is this even possible? You know what the mama head says. A special baby. I call the handicapped special. She says to the family who has a special baby, what sin did they commit that God gave them such a child? Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God. What would you say if you were the parents of such a child? How would you look? What would you say to this immoral person? What's enough? It's enough. What shall we say? Yahya was beheaded like a ram. Should we think, what sin did John commit? That cruel ruler who cut off John's head, Herod, ruler to the Jew. Him too. Shall we tell him what a blessed man I am? Say what? Yes, I asked how fate became a cover for irresponsibility and how death became a cover for mass deaths. Against the beautification of death, I defended the guardianship of life. I still defend it. No one should be a celebrator of death. Do you know that life is the greatest miracle God has given us? Why do we always defend death against life? Why do we stone the dead and idolize the living? We stone the dead and worship the living. Excuse me, we stone the living and worship the dead. Why is that? Why is the condition like this? Why does it glorify death and not glorify life? Doesn't it? Right, sir? Thank you. 53rd lesson, Surah Shams, the lesson on recognizing man, humanity. We asked what kind of being is a human being. We said people who are pure evil, motives, impulses. Isn't Satan? What is Satan? We covered the devil in that lesson. Please, if you want to know again what the devil is, please spend 40 minutes and watch the devil chapter in that lesson. Yes, I am talking about the 53rd lesson, Surah Shams. Yes, people who are pure evil. 88 verses in the Quran mention the devil, and the devils mentioned in nearly 60 verses are evil people who lived in Mecca and Medina. What do you say? Yes, what is after that? Motives and impulses. Motives. The drives that pull us into animalism. Our limbic system, the lower brain. If we act on the lower brain, on the impulse of lust, on the impulse of anger, on the impulse of fear, if we don't control them with our intellect, then it turns into the devil. Impulses, external impulses. External impulses. Yes, we called for enlightenment. We said that it is the devil who darkens. It is the Quran that enlightens. Yes, we did. We said that the value of the atmosphere that makes the night a day is the atmosphere around you, right? This was very important. That is an atmosphere. Life. If I ask you what is it, what is the source of life, the first thing that comes to your mind is water. Right? Where there is water, there is life. But friends, it's not like that. Ceres has water. It was a moon of Jupiter, right? But there's no atmosphere. And water molecules have been found on Mars. Water was plentiful in the past, 4 billion years ago. The beds of the streams, the beds of the lakes are still there. There is no life. Soil. And soil is not the measure of life. There is soil and there is water, but there is no life. So what is life really? Its main element, the atmosphere. The atmosphere is what keeps life on Earth. Do you know that? That's why the atmosphere holds oxygen, the main component of life. And without air, nothing happens. No plants, no fauna, no flora, no animals, no people. Yes, your atmosphere, the one you are in. Yes, who makes the night, who makes the day, who makes the night day? Space is dark, you know that. When you go up into the Earth's atmosphere, space is dark. But in space there is the sun, you see the sun. But space is dark, still dark. There is the sun, but it is dark. When you come into the atmosphere, you see something called daytime. Why? The sun is not the cause of daytime. Is the atmosphere. Why is that? Gases in the atmosphere fluoresce. Fluorescence effect. You know what I mean? So it makes the inside of the atmosphere daytime. At the same time, the space outside the atmosphere is dark. So have an atmosphere that will illuminate your surroundings. Fajr and taqwa, irresponsibility and responsibility. I told you, Eli is the 4th lesson. I said Surah Buruj is a lesson of freedom. We are a lesson of freedom. In the Quran, a surah is dedicated to the lesson of freedom. Surah Buruk, Adam was the symbolism of the forbidden tree. Freedom of choice or slavery without choice. How do you know your freedom if you use your will? If you can use your will, if you cannot use your will, you are a slave. Yes, you are. Do you know what the difference between servitude and slavery is? In the Arabic language, it is expressed by the same word. But we understand the emphasis by looking at the context. The word abd, it means servitude when attributed to Allah, and slavery when attributed to the servant. This is true. But according to this context, they are two completely opposite, completely different concepts. Why is it separated? Servitude in relation to Allah. How to make peace with freedom. Here's how. No master does not give his slave will. He does not give freedom. When he gives freedom, he does not become his slave. He cannot be the master. The day he gives freedom, his mastery is over. He is above him. So what has Allah done? He has given his servant will. He wanted him to use his will to its full capacity. No master gives will to his slave, but Allah, the Lord of the worlds, has given will to his servant. Moreover, he held those who did not use their will to account. This is the difference. This is a very important difference. The slogan of the Quran is down with the torturers. Yes, it is in this surah, isn't it? Down with the torturers. How did you find it? Therefore, all forms of torture are forbidden, criminal, haram, sinful. All forms of torture without exception are atrocities cursed. Morality is the pillar of religion, freedom, faith. Prayer is not the pillar of religion. There is no such thing. Can there be such a thing? That's why, look, their religion has no pillar. They pray 5 times, 50 times they lie, 100 times they slander. There is no such thing. What is the pillar of religion? It is morality. Yes, it is. The pillar of religion is morality. And freedom is the pillar of faith. Exactly, that is the purpose. I mean, this is it. This is the purpose of religion. Religion, actually, I said this. Revelation is to help the intellect. Religion is to help man. Worship is to help morality. I emphasize the helper. Helper. That's why the Quran is the auxiliary book. The main book is nature, the universe, existence. 55th lesson. Suratin, the lesson of drawing attention to human potential. Again, it is about the human being. Does your faith and worship make you humble or arrogant? Go ahead. This question is really the trick. This question is where the oppressor says it. Does your worship, your faith, your religion make you more arrogant? Does it make you more merciful, humble, compassionate? Go ahead. Go ahead. It's so simple, so simple. I'm not saying simple. It's so simple, so simple. Yes, it is. Figs and olives. It's mentioned in this surah, right? 2 fruits are food for your stomach. If you say 2 verses, it's food for your mind. Yes, 2 verses, figs and olives. 2 verses, figs and olives. If you look at it as 2 fruits, okay, you can prostrate to a can of olive oil. But if you look at it as 2 verses, it is food for your mind, your soul, your heart. Then you can cut down the olive trees. You can't pour concrete. You can't build a housing estate. You have to fear God and be ashamed of yourself. But if you don't look at it that way, that's what you do. Because you cannot look at the olive as a verse. You cannot look at the olive tree as a verse. The potential of the human being, the human calendar, etc., there, etc., etc. Opposite human arrogance. Yes, the potential of the human being. Asani Takvim says in the most beautiful consistency, potential. But what is the opposite of this? Human arrogance. Ashrafi mahlukat. Ashrafi mahlukat is the arrogance of man. The Quran never ever supports this statement. You know, I said there, I quoted a verse, the creation of the heavens and the earth is greater than the creation of man. I remember I said, weren't you surprised? Yes, I was. Therefore, man came to this table last. Why are you setting the table where you came last? Why are you setting the table at the beginning, friends? Did he come last? We belong to the universe. We belong to it. We do not own it. We don't own the olive tree. We are the trustee. We are not the owner of the earth. We are the custodian. We even own our lives. It is a trust. 56th lesson. Surah Zilzal, life and accountable life. The relationship between nature, man, and the Creator. You will remember that I referred to geological earthquakes and moral and theological earthquakes. Yes, I did. Zilzal means earthquake, zelzala. Zelzal has a surah in the Quran. Isn't that interesting? The surah of earthquake. Yes, it is, but this earthquake is actually a reference to the human earthquake, the internal earthquake, the moral earthquake, based on the actual physical, technological earthquake as a metaphor, as a borrowed concept. Would you look at the verse? The first article of the Constitution of Environmentalism is this verse. Because of what men have done with their hands, there has been mischief, corruption, mischief in the sea and on the land. It has caused mischief. Go ahead. When this verse came 1400 years ago, by God, there was not a river on earth that was polluted by mankind. There was no air polluted by mankind. It couldn't be. The population is clear. It burned. The fuel is clear. The density is certain. You know what I mean? Oil is not used. There is no diesel. There are no cars. There are no trains, no airplanes. There are no combustion engines, billions of them. Therefore, at the time of this verse, what was the addressee of this verse? How much mischief was he going to wreak on land and sea? I think it's a visa. Don't you think so? You see it, don't you? Does man destroy a lake with his hand? Do you know that a sea, the Sea of Aval, has disappeared? Right under our noses. We border Iraq, sir, Lake Urmia. Lake Urmia has dried up. It's here. Do you know how many lakes have dried up? In Turkey. Do you know how many more lakes we are about to dry up? And pollution. How did we manage to pollute the air, pollute the water? So here is Surah Zilzal. It is wonderful. The 57th lesson is Surah Insan. Don't defeat your arrogance, use your will. Yes, I think we've coincided the halva with the reading this time. The man was selling halva and a stone for weight. The customer is in the queue. He saw that there were too many customers and not enough halva. Each time as the halva got less, and he turns around and he's hitting the rock with his weight. Of course, a small piece breaks. So as the halva decreases, so does the weight. Finally, the last piece is left, and the last piece is tiny, not a kilo, but a gram. And that's it. He was saying that we got the halva just in time for the reading. The last man to arrive said, Uncle Hacha, are you sure that's a kilo? He said he wasn't so sure. Well, I'm not sure. If you're not sure, I'm not sure at all. He lifted the small piece in his hand, which he wanted to call a kilo, and threw it into the middle of the lake next door. He said, "Bring it back and we will weigh it." A scene from Anatolian wisdom. Yes, 3 pasts, 3 origins: elementary origin, biological origin, embryological origin. The elementary origin, our past, is that which is made of earth, mud. Min tinin, min turabin, min salsalin kel fakhar, min tinin lazib, min hamain mesnun. These are all 7 kinds. From mud, from dried mud, from cooked mud, from mud that has now been shoyed, or rather from mud that has grown bacteria, from soil. What does all this actually signify? Elemental origin. The elemental origin of man. Because before there were human beings, before there were living beings, what was the raw material of life? Nothing, an acid. Amino acid. Amino acid is the raw material of life. It is lifeless. There are amino acids all over the universe, the raw material of life. Is that the raw material of all viruses, Mr. Sadek? Yes, therefore amino acid, that is. This protein chain, sir, from an amino acid, from an inanimate, yes it is. So it is described in the Quran around the symbolism of blowing a soul. But the science that deals with this is biology. So this is the elementary origin. What is the biological origin? Here, after coming to life, first cell, first single celled, then multicellular. Single celled, our history on Earth is 2 billion years. Do you know that we have been single-celled for 2 billion years? There are 4 billion years of life on Earth. 4 billion years. We've been single-celled for more than 2 billion years. Cyanobacteria. On these rocks, people like me who have come from Anatolia know. We used to burn henna on the rocks. Do you know mosses? They are single-celled. They lived on the earth for 2 billion years. That and others like it. Thank you. When you see them, honor them, right? Respect them. Thank you. So after that, biological origin, then the embryological origin, the process in the womb, the symbol of earth, mud. Do you know what the verses that say, "I was created from mud, from soil," say to human beings who are in a race of clans, tribes, races, and lineages? Don't forget the mud. Don't forget the mud. If you forget the mud, you will become muddy. Why? I mean, why are you being arrogant? Why are you showing off? Why are you showing off? Why are you showing off? Why are you saying that the small mountains were left by my father? I created the big ones. What for? Don't forget the mud. That's what it is. Oh, human being, don't forget the mud. Don't get cocky. Oh, man, know your limit. Don't be arrogant. Know your worth. Don't be sold cheap. Know your limit. Don't be arrogant. Know your worth. Don't be sold cheaply. Inna hadaynahu sabil. It says we have guided you to the path. He does not say the right path. We guided you to the way. Allah's bus. Allah does not have a matchbox. So He doesn't put you in a minibus, fill it up, and drop you off in paradise. So what does He do? He leads the way. May your path be clear. He says choose, choose, choose. You know what I mean? So you can choose right or wrong, choose faith or disbelief. Choose truth or falsehood, but you choose. Because it will be the result of your labor. Because I gave you something called will, the ability to choose. I gave you something called intellect, so you will use it. You will choose. Choose. I said theology is divided into the theology of pride and the theology of responsibility. Which is yours? The theology of arrogance and the theology of responsibility. The theology of responsibility is piety. The theology of arrogance, it's called arrogance. Yes, the one I just asked. Does your faith, belonging, family, worship increase your arrogance or your responsibility? One question. Plain and simple. I used to be, while Islamist, I used to feel anger at those who did not worship. I felt anger at those who did not pray. I felt anger at those who did not fast. I felt anger at those who didn't believe. Anger as if I am their God. What increases my anger? Why would I feel anger? I would compare it to not digesting my faith. I explain, I haven't digested my faith. I have not digested my prayer. I haven't digested my fasting. I have not digested it. Because if you are angry with someone who is not doing it, you want to get rid of what you are doing, but you cannot. You don't do it inwardly. So you don't actually believe that it is a favor and a treat for you. You believe it is a burden. Why do I have to bear this burden and he doesn't? It is clear. I'm giving it to myself. I'm not saying anything to you. You are brilliant. Here's the theology of arrogance. And how are you now, Mustafa Kulu? Because of this. I'm not proud. I'm not proud of the fact I see responsibility for me. It's a burden. I don't feel superior to him for doing this. Because we're not dead. Don't call anyone happy until they're dead, Solon said. But I think it increases my responsibility. That's the way it should be. It should, shouldn't it? Fasting. It was written to you. My argument was written to you. Why? You will attain taqwa, responsibility. Therefore, and I have two suggestions, if you want to watch or listen to something more detailed about them. The story of Siratul Quran was published on the site of Religious Answers. I gave the speech at Mr. Kanner's foundation. Yes, the story of Siratul Quran. The second one is the theology of arrogance, the theology of responsibility on YouTube. The speech I gave at the Aqaba Iftar gathering. I offer you these. Sir, that's all for today. I have taken your time. I hope I have pleased you. I hope I have disturbed you. I hope so. If I didn't bother you, I consider myself a failure. If I've disturbed you, I mean, it's a bit like this. If I woke you up, feel good. If I didn't wake you up, you're dead. Then, what wakes the dead? If sleep is too deep, the tremor must have been huge, right? Oh Lord, do not give us tremors too great for us to bear. Oh Lord, even if we hear you sleeping, make our sleep light and let us wake up at a slight warning, inshallah. I wish you all a good day, and we will meet again in another 14 days, inshallah. May Allah be with you.